Hi there guys, I'm going to be back with you again. So sort of as I was insinuating yesterday, I really need to do something to play a little bit more Madden 94. I know that you guys are really disappointed to know that, but that's just what the breaks are. So we're going to go over here. We've already got it started, and let's just go ahead and get on with the action. We're going back to the Sega Genesis here today. I don't quite have enough time to do like a major project, unfortunately, at least not right now. Normally I would like to do that, even try a season or something like that. We're probably not going to have enough time for that. Just looking here at the options, I'm going to say I thought that this gave you the option. I think you do have the option of playing a full Super Bowl, actually. I think that you can grab one of these old teams if you want to. So I don't know what we want to choose here, but you can grab a whole bunch of different teams through the history of the sport. I don't know if we want to play something then. We could play like... I don't know, something like that. Actually, what we could do is we could play something like this, right? We're going to play the 84 49ers against the 84 Dolphins. I think that this game contains a whole bunch of former Super Bowl teams. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. You guys can go correct me on this. Of course, so the way that this works with videos like this, in case you haven't figured this out, is that I like to do this so that I have some gameplay available so that I can use that for later videos. Generally, though, when I play something like this, I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time like reading the manual and going through everything and all of that. I try to figure a lot out on my own, at least at the very beginning. So that's sort of the reason why it is what it is. Some people don't like that. Some people are okay with it. It just sort of depends. And so that does mean that, there are going to be some things that I wind up getting wrong when I'm playing this game or when I'm doing it live. I don't have a whole bunch of stuff in front of me. I don't have like a bunch of notes for this game or anything. So what you're seeing is kind of legit, is kind of how I would put it. In other words, like I'm not going to, maybe I should stop that hurdle trick, right? I'm not going to be able to like come up with some sort of like, absolutely like amazing or wonderful insight for you while we play the game. It's not really what the point of this is. The point of this instead is more along the lines of like trying to, I keep getting weird things popping up here. There we go. The point of doing this is just sort of like trying to get to the point where we can, where I can play a little bit of one of these games and sort of have a little bit of fun. Maybe use some of this gameplay on the channel as well so that we can have something for people to watch. It helps a little bit with keeping the channel like alive and relevant and all that other YouTube jazz. But really, overall, the actual point of doing this is really just so that I can get some gameplay so that when I make this video, probably, I don't know, probably like the day after tomorrow, so probably on Monday, about Madden 94 on the Genesis, I have a whole bunch of, gameplay and stuff to work with. Now, I'm definitely not like a professional Madden player, so when you see me do what I just did on that previous play and like push the wrong button and dive where I didn't want to dive, I probably wanted to spin or something like that, right? That's going to happen probably pretty frequently, right? It's hopefully like okay, right? This is just me sort of playing this game. This is like literally sort of like what the experience would have been like if it were 1994 right now, or if it were like, whatever, Christmas 1993, and you came over to my house and like we're going to sit back and play this game. Because, none of us are going to read the manual. We're not going to like look deep into it. We're not going to know what like people are saying online or whatever, right? We're not going to necessarily know, okay, so I guess I didn't get tackled there. Tell me what happened there. That was a little bit weird. I got hit. But yeah, like I said, like basically, this is like, you sort of get together with your friend and you play the game. That's kind of what the whole point of this is, except that it's just me playing against the freaking computer, Anyway, so that's sort of how it is. Now I know that, the Madden games for the most part have like the same controls and all that stuff. So, I probably should spend more time playing them. We can get, more used to this stuff and all that. I kind of had to throw there. I was a dead duck since we decided that we didn't want to block anybody. So, there you have it. We haven't been passing very well here, though I think it's probably mostly been my own fault. What are the money plays in this game again? I always have people in the comments who are happy to like tell me like what it is I should be doing and all that. You know, one of these days too, I'm probably going to grab one of these old Madden games and I'm going to actually do like a project with them. Similar to like what I've been doing with, you know, Tecmo Super Bowl with all those seasons and stuff like that. Oh, 55-yard attempt. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have tried that. I keep forgetting that the goal line's so many yards back and all that. Anyway, whatever. Like, there's another thing. You saw me do that yesterday in the Super Nintendo game. We had a 57-yard field goal attempt. You know, you'll see me make mistakes like that from time to time. It's kind of the fun of doing this. That was a great run, by the way. I don't think we're going to do the old goal line defense. I think that we're just going to go back in the zone here and give them basically the first down. I think that's kind of what the plan is. The other thing to know is that the goal of doing this is not necessarily for me to actually win the game, you know, as bad as that might sound. In a real sense, it's kind of like a way to sort of like relax a little bit and, you know, let's have a good time. That's what this is really all about. It's not so much about like, here's the right way to play this game or whatever. He got it. He got it by a long, long shot. Anyway, as time goes on, I do plan on doing this as well with a lot of the 3D games. We'll probably start with NFL 2K5 or maybe even the All-Pro Football game by 2K, something like that. And the reason why is, again, because, like, you know, it would be nice to have a little bit more content and stuff. The one thing that has me hesitant about those games, there's two things. Number one is I have to make sure that I can get rid of a lot of the music to avoid the YouTube copyright police, right, if you know what I'm talking about. And then the other big thing we have to make sure of is that like I have enough time to play it, because so like this game, just looking at how long it's taken so far, I'll probably be done in like 30 minutes or something like that, right, you know, in time for dinner. But when we're talking about like, you know, like Madden 2005, NFL 2K5, games like that, when I was playing those earlier for the videos that I did on them, like, it would take me easily an hour to play any one of those games. And that's where you're talking about like a major, major time investment. I mean, you know, it's a fun game to play and I like playing it, but at some point in time, you're like, man, this is a lot of time to sit down and play, like, you know, this football game from like 20-something years ago, you know. And it's also not necessarily like the best thing in the world for a video and keeping engagement and stuff like that. I think I've mentioned this on actually on this channel before. Generally, so where was receiver C then? Incomplete. Can somebody tell me where receiver C was? Because I thought that he was the guy who was right in front of me who was wide open. Apparently he wasn't. Whatever. I'm blaming that one on Montana, man. Joe Montana needs to do a better job. Clearly, it's his fault, not my fault. I've been doing the right thing. Incomplete. All right, let's do something deep. Just missed it. Well, it was worth a shot. Anyway, it's been kind of a quiet game so far. Hopefully, it will stay quiet. Hopefully, we can stop them on defense. That was not a good punt. Yeah, they have it at the 50-yard line. This is kind of what I was worried about. All right. It's okay. We'll play good defense and we'll keep holding them. So anyway, that's sort of like the story about what's going on with these videos in case you're interested. I've been doing a lot more of these, actually not just on this channel, but on my other channels as well. Because the thing is, I'm going to play these games anyway, right? So I might as well, like, you know, put something together for everybody to kind of enjoy, right? You know, and anyway. The other question I get a lot from people is, why don't you just, like, stream? I prefer to do it this way. It's just personal preference, kind of. You know, I've watched a bunch of streams before. Okay, that's not realistic at all. Are you really going to have 15 guys running after a single pass after it bounces off of one guy's pad? I mean, come on. Anyway, I prefer to create sort of standalone videos as opposed to streaming. Part of it is because my schedule is not always, like, actually set in stone. And so it can be really difficult for me to, you know, find like a real good time every single day to, you know, come up with a stream or something like that. And I know that when it comes to streaming, like the thing that works is having a set schedule. So anyway, that's the excuse that I have. There's always an excuse. By the way, that running play there by Miami was hilarious, where the guy got caught behind his own blocker who was blocking nobody. I know I've been talking about this before, but you know, I do realize that, you know, the more recent Madden games have better blocking schemes and blocking action than the really old ones. Sure, he got it. Yeah. But having said that, like, I've done videos on this in the past. You can go check them out. Like, the blocking in these old games is just not good. It's not good. It's just sloppy. It's put together in a way that is really, really, like, cumbersome and frustrating. Again, you know, if this is 1994 that we're talking about, and this is like the only game, you know, maybe you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is pretty good. You know, this is pretty much fun. You know, but you don't really know necessarily any better. But again, if you compare this just to like Tecmo Super Bowl out of the box, what you'll notice is that the blocking of this game like kind of sucks, right? It's not really that good. Guys don't actually like grapple with each other. They don't actually like fight over position or anything like that. What these guys end up doing is they just sort of stand in each other's way. That's how the blocking works.
32, 20, 23.
I don't know why that clock came up on the screen all of a sudden. That's interesting. He tried to jump ahead for that first down and he missed it. So I think they're going to kick a field goal.
Set, 32.
Apparently not. Well, we definitely stopped him, I think. No, we didn't. He had forward progress, and so he gets it.
First down.
Boy, that was surprising. I didn't think they were going to go for it there on
30.
fourth and 1. You think that you take the points. Incomplete. Anyway, so my personal experience here with John Madden Football actually starts not with this game, but with Madden 95, which I used to have for the Game Boy of all systems. Madden 95 for the Game Boy is really interesting. I haven't played it in years and years and years, but it is very, very similar to the Super Nintendo version of the game, except of course on the Game Boy, so it has all the limitations of the system and stuff like that. I'm looking forward though to playing that again here once we get to that point. He got it. Yeah, he got it.
First down.
I am looking forward to doing that, and of course, so I don't know, you know, Madden 94 is probably not necessarily going to be that possible to do like a major project with it. Madden 95, however, I know it's a lot more possible. Like, it saves a lot of stuff, it saves a lot of stats and stuff like that. You don't have to use this stupid password system and all that stuff. So maybe that's what we'll end up doing, like some sort of big project with Madden 95 or something like that. I don't know.
Green. But. Touchdown.
Oh, I should be pushing A so that I can do this, you know, this dive and to try to tackle him. Anyway, it's all right.
Woo. But. Woo. But. It's good.
Probably should have pushed A there as well, but it's all right. No worries. See, the controls here, though, are a little bit confusing. Someone was telling me they don't like the controls of the Madden game on the Super Nintendo. The Genesis, though, it can be a little bit controlling, right? Or confusing, right? So, like, I always think of, like, what button do I really want to push? Well, if I'm on, you know, offense, I probably want to push B, but if I'm on defense, apparently it's A that I want to push, right? That's sort of the way that I think about it. It's less, you know, what does this button do, and rather, which button do I normally want to push? So in that case there, you can go back and watch it again. I chose receiver B because he looked the most open, and he ended up with like 4 guys around him, like seconds later. And we ended up getting the pass interference call, which is nice. Oh, you got the touchdown there. How about that? So this is going to be a close game after all. We scored in like 10 seconds.
It's good.
You know that thing you see on, you know, the NFL broadcasts and stuff, where like right after they have, you know, the scoring drive, they have like the summary, the amount of time taken up and stuff like that. Well, in this one, it would have been 10 seconds. There you go. Yeah, pushing A is the way to do it. That reminds me, by the way, of back when I was a kid, back in like 1990, 1991. So my dad had season tickets for BYU football. We used to go down to Provo and watch them every Saturday when they were at home. And you watch, you know, BYU play with Ty Detmer at quarterback, and they had that like super passing offense and stuff, and it was the mountain air and all that stuff. And you would see BYU score touchdowns in like 3 plays, you know, drive the length of the field. And when you're a kid, like I was, you're like 8 years old, you think that like every team does this, and you're like, you know, what's wrong with these players on these other teams you watch, right? Are they stupid? Do they not know that all you have to do is just like drive the field and score, right? why are they running it, right? Why would you ever run it? All you have to do is pass and you get a touchdown.
33. What?
All right, now here's the big question, which is, are they going to go for it? No, they're not.
Set. 22. What?
There we go. See, that's a good job on my part of following the blocker. All we have to do is push B a couple times and try to spin. Oh, we didn't get the chance to do that. That's all right. 40-yard punt return. That's the best punt return I've had in any game, probably this whole year of 2026. I mean, the year's not that old, but that's pretty good. Well, so much for that. So we end up going to halftime tied at 7. Not going to be a whole lot of highlights or whatever, because we're just doing what's it called, exhibition mode. Yeah, we only had 3 minutes 13 seconds of possession. We've had a lot of defensive plays, only 4 first downs. We've held them to -2 passing yards, but they've had 51 rushing yards. Kind of an ugly game. Nobody has over 100 yards. We haven't had very much though by way of like fumbles, interceptions, or anything like that. So we'll see what happens. A little bit different than the Tecmo Super Bowl game that I played earlier today with the New York Giants, 1958. That one was a lot uglier. That one had a lot of, especially in that first quarter, that one had a lot of crazy stuff happening. So there you have it. All right, let's see if we can stop them here. So the plan here with Madden 94 is I'm probably going to do just a video on the Genesis game at first, because the Genesis and Super Nintendo games are like different enough, I think, to warrant that. Plus, of course, you also have the fact that, you know, the Super Nintendo game ended up being so much better than the other Super Nintendo versions of Madden. I mean, like the original 2 Madden games in the Super Nintendo were really, really frustrating with, you know, graphics that are not that great and with a frame rate that isn't that great. So I was playing Madden 94 on the Super Nintendo last night, which is very, very smooth. I think it's actually probably better than the Genesis game, but I think that it's different enough so that you have to think about like this as being 2 different games, really. And certainly games with 2 different types of histories. So we got to be careful here because they might call it running play. They've bitten us before. So anyway, that's kind of what's, yep, he got it. Short gain. Okay, so we barely stopped them. I bet you they're gonna punt. They're wimps, wussies. Can you say that on YouTube?
42, 40, but
I think this is gonna be a touchback. Yep, way out of the end zone. 62-yard punt. All right, let's see if we can have a big drive here and make them regret that. All right, that was a start. So some of these old football games have it where when you call a play like this, like you don't actually have to toss it to the player, right? Now, in some cases, when you're talking like, you know, Bill Walsh college football, like it makes sense, right? You can run an option, right, or something like that. But some of these games, like NFL by LJN, it's a little bit bizarre. Like you don't have to like run the play that you called like at all. Oh crap. So there's another difference, right? If you watched yesterday's video on the Super Nintendo version of this game, you notice that with an interception, they would use that mode 7 thing to have the whole field turn around, which is totally unnecessary. Whereas in this game, just like the other games on Genesis, like it just flips around right away. This one's a little bit more abrupt, but it feels better if you're a gamer. This is one of the things I don't think that, you know, the companies programming this completely understood. I would say EA Sports, but I know that they subcontracted this stuff out. But what I think they didn't quite understand back then is that, you know, when you're playing the game, like all these visual tricks that look really cool when you're trying to like show the game off, they don't really matter that much, right? It matters maybe like a little bit, but I mean, really not that much. The thing that really matters for you when you're playing the game is like your ability to, you know, play the game. Good, no interference. I'm having nightmares about that pass interference. But we got away with it.
Set. Red. 42.
This is going to be another touchback. Look at this ball fly. All right, guys. All right, chat, tell me what play to call. I don't know what to do. There we go. See that? See, this time I waited for the block, but the problem is that the block that he gives you, he doesn't actually block the player. He sort of like walks in front of him. Right, and it magically has this effect to where, you know, the guy can't do anything because there's a guy right in front of him. What a well-designed game. Anyway. Yeah, that was heck of a play. Thanks, John. Yeah, and that was not a very well-designed play. Anyway, it was in one of those videos I did earlier. I don't remember which video it was. Maybe a couple of them that I started looking at some of these plays and talking about how, like, you look at, like, the play diagram, and then you look at what actually happens in the play, and you're like, yeah, it's not even close, you know? All right. I mean, I know that, you know, maybe I should be hitting the button down a little bit harder, you know, so it's not, you know, one of those passes that just sort of like lingers in the air forever. But even still, it's so sort of strange to me that like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that there are 7 players around this receiver. I mean, really? Like, that's a little bit crazy. There you go. Yeah, if you hold it down a little bit more, then he throws it really hard, and then you get the pass interference call. That's exactly what we were going for, right? Right, the pass interference call in this game is kind of like random. Like, oh yeah, you get pass interference, right? You were good. You were good. Here's your Christmas present. Anyway, they can never sell this game again today because they can't show players taking their helmets off to celebrate, right? That's forbidden. The NFL would have a fit if you ever tried that. And it would also be really upset if they had, you know, the bone-crunching helmet-to-helmet hits and all that stuff. We actually saw a little bit more of that in the Super Nintendo version than in this version of it, so whatever. Don't you dare. Anyway, life's pretty good. 14-7 lead. Playing Madden on the Genesis. You gotta love it.
First down.
I think this is a ridiculous play call by me, but we'll see what happens. I just want to see. Yeah, of course they call a running play when I'm looking for a pass. We probably should focus our defensive efforts a little bit more on containing the run than on trying to stop the pass because they've been running it all over us.
Set. 32.
Got him.
You don't want to take too many of those.
All right, so that brings up 3rd and 10, and that means that we can go back into our nickel and see if we can't stop them here.
Set. 42.
They're coming out looking run, but they're not going to run.
Incomplete.
Boy, he came close, though, to making that diving catch. That would have been something. Anyway, there are a couple of things that I really kind of like about, you know, like the Tecmo games. I'll talk about this till the end of time. For example, in the Tecmo games, I don't have to actually go choose, like, I want to do the punt return when it's an obvious punting situation, you know. Like, it would be nice in this game if I, you know, didn't have to do stuff like that, you know. How you like that, huh? We came close. Of course, one of the problems with Tecmo is that you can't do things like, you know, run out the clock, right? Which is something you can do in games like this. In fact, one of the reasons why I didn't, you know, put up a lot of the earlier gameplay that I had from, you know, Madden games and stuff when I was making videos is because I would spend the whole 4th quarter, like, sort of waiting out the clock. That's what we're going to do here. So we're going to choose, I don't know, like, I don't know, this off tackle or something like that. Then we're just going to sort of, like, sit back and let the clock run and all that, you know. That's the way you do it.
20. 20. Green.
But fortunately, the game gives you a lot of noise and stuff to kind of remind you that you're still playing.
23.
Now, this is the ultimate jerk move, you know, if you're playing with your buddy, right? You don't want to get in trouble for doing this too much. Yeah, we got 5 yards on that. And we took up a whole bunch of time, and then now we can sit here, we can think about all the various plays we can run, right? Maybe we want to do like this formation, and then, okay, we can take another, you know, however many minutes to look at. Are there really only 8 I formation plays? We can flip it, right? Okay, we'll flip it, you know. Fine, we'll choose this one, and now we're going to see if we can get them offside, and, you know.
22. 22. 41.
Yeah, this is where your friend gets really pissed off.
Green. 43. 40.
Now he got the first down, so this game's over. So now we're just gonna sort of sit back. We can like look at different plays and stuff like that, you know, because I'm waiting for the clock to run out. Yeah, so you have a whole bunch of these other plays. Oh, look, there's a stop clock play, right? Do they have a stop clock play anywhere? No, not everywhere. So you have to know that it's in the far near package. Actually, the Pro Form package has it as well. You can do a stop clock. As we discovered yesterday, if you want to do the quarterback sneak, you have to go into the goal line package for whatever reason. Here, it's right there. Actually, I think the Super Nintendo version has more plays. So, Joe Montana walked into the end zone. There you have it. And so, yeah, we're about to go up again. Pretty easy, right? Easy game when you're playing with good teams. Last night it wasn't so easy. Poor Dolphins. Whatever. We're taking out a revenge by beating them here. This is, you know, the way that it ought to be. So there you have it. That's sort of a Madden 94 in a nutshell. It really is a nice game, though. I'll be honest, I haven't played a lot of the modern Madden games on modern systems, partially because I haven't had a system capable of playing modern Madden for years. We do have a PlayStation 3 somewhere down in the basement. So think about how old that is, right? That's kind of the level that we're at right now. I don't know. I've occasionally thought to myself, you know, hey, maybe, you know, I'll become one of these, like, you know, play a whole bunch of, you know, Madden games or whatever type YouTubers and get a bunch of like modern systems and doing that stuff. And I don't know. Like I could, I don't have necessarily like the personality for that, right? I mean, as you can probably tell, right? Part of me is sort of content with sort of sticking with some of the older games. I do like the idea though of playing, you know, a variety of different things, you know, and trying a whole bunch of stuff out. The reality, though, is that, I mean, my, big strength is probably not telling people, like, the best kind of play to run or whatever, like in this situation or that situation. It's a little bit more, has a little bit more to do with, like, let's go, like, do some research. Let's look into some old newspapers or whatever, let's make a video about history. Let's talk about, like, old football cards and stuff like that, That's a little bit more like it. I should probably get to know what these audibles actually are or whatever. Boy, that was a real desperation play. They only got a short loss out of it, so... Anyway, there you have it. I'm guessing that they do have 3 timeouts left, so I'm kind of confused as to why they didn't use them. I'm guessing that they're going to use them now that the game's out of reach. Right, you would have thought that they wanted to use these timeouts. Yeah, there they go. You would have thought that they would have wanted to use these timeouts like when it actually mattered, when the game was still close and stuff. Using it here doesn't make any sense because, I'm about to go up pretty much no matter what. I'm going to go up like 3 scores. All right, we can get a field goal. We can get a field goal pretty easily, I would think, from here, unless I really screw it up somehow. Yeah, no gain on that. So, okay, we'll kick the field goal. Right, they call the last time out. Okay. I want to see the thing that SNES Drunk was talking about the other day, right? Where, oh man, it was blocked. Wow, beautiful job. I thought I had enough time to get it off. I was going to say, I want to see the thing that he was talking about where they were like calling plays, timeouts that belong to like other teams and stuff like that, right? That's what I really want to see in one of these. I don't know, maybe we do a project with like Madden, 95 or whatever, and like we end up seeing that, I don't know.
Amazing!
Amazing is right, but the problem is that they call the running play, right? So like, oh wow, you took a nothing play and you ran for more yards and we're still going to win by 14, right? Like, what is this play going to do, right? Now you have a 4-yard loss and the game's over. Congratulations. I'll even help you out. Oh, nope, sorry, no time. Right, I called the play before the computer did. So anyway, there you have it. So there you go with Madden 94 on the Genesis once again. A little bit of example of kind of what the game is capable of. We'll look at the stats real quick. 21-7 victory. They had more possession. We had equal number of first downs. We definitely had more yardage, but only 161, which feels kind of low. We were 0 for 2 in terms of field goals because there was the one block. We had 50% third down conversions. They had 30%. A lot of these stats are right about right. I do think though that the yardage is a little bit low. I mean, Dan Marino only passed for 5 yards, right? I mean, think about it. We were at 14% completions, right? I mean, so some of that is not exactly where it ought to be. But anyway, there you have it. What I tell you, about half hour, a little bit over half hour to play a full game. That's more like it. That's a little bit better than over an hour. So anyway, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed that. I will talk with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.